outside the country. It's all over here. And that is that the government has shown clear case of cluelessness that has been traditional with this government, have been very lethargic, First, the government, as many people have said, was living in denial. I think it was Professor Wilson that first pointed that out. It was living in denial. It was like, were they really the case? Or is it just a political score and our opponents to get at me? So many days we are lost. And in the process, the Boko Haram militants gained so much ground, and it was very difficult. And as we are seeing today, it has been very difficult to track them, having gained a lot of days while the government was fidgeting. I think on the day of the kidnap, that was the day after the Nyanya bomb blast. The president was in Kano, Tansen, Azonto, a political rally when he was supposed to have been at the point of the bomb blast, directing affairs, issuing directives. But he was more interested in engaging a useless rally. And you wonder what the rally is all about. So the thing was that the government had been very clueless. And anyway, it's not surprising anybody. That had been the traditional fault of this government. It had been very clueless in the chibok issue, as in many other issues since the advent of this government. And the international community is pushing very hard. Senator John McCain, the Republican candidate in the last election, was very blunt and direct. He said that the United States government would have moved in to rescue these chibok girls instead of waiting for a non-existent government. That says it all. The press, the international press, we are all over, everybody. So it just went to show that there is a very serious governmental deficit in Nigeria under Jonathan. This government should negotiate. This government should just meet them one-on-one, whoever, and agree on releasing these girls is much more critical. The lives of the girls are much more critical. I was reading something somewhere, and they will say that the Israeli government under Netanyahu had to agree to release a lot of Palestinian militants to secure the release of bodies of Israeli soldiers killed by Palestinians. We are talking of bodies of soldiers killed, and in the process they have to swap the bodies with some militants, some Palestinian militants. So what are we talking of now? About 300 or so girls, or 200 or something girls are missing. And we are talking of negotiating or not negotiating. They should negotiate with them and secure the release of these girls, and then redirect the fight against Boko Haram. They cannot engage in any frontal battle with Boko Haram with those girls still at their custody. These are people that don't care about life. What if they decide to kill off the girls? And can we, afford such wastage? That is just the issue. So there is no two ways about it. The government should meet Boko Haram, agree on a deal, secure the girls, and then come back to reassess and direct its battle against terror if it has any. But at least with the international community there, I believe that they can piece something together to defeat the Boko Haram militants. Rallies are enough if you have a sane situation and if you have a sane leadership. They don't even need these rallies to go this far to adopt a clear-cut line of action to free these girls. If we remember, the rally started, very gradually here in the country and then became an international affair. That's the American First Lady and different superstars, and different politicians outside Nigeria in the advanced countries have to take it up, So that is what you call citizen action in a situation like this. They have done their own action. Much now depends on the government. If this can prod them out from their lethargy, But we see a situation where the government is sponsoring counter rallies to tell you that nobody was kidnapped or whatever, or that we should go to Boko Haram and tell them to release our girl. What nonsense? What utter nonsense is that? The government that should now say, okay, we have had you, this is what we have on the ground as far as it can allow the citizens, you know, and we will assure you that within a record time we are going to effect the release of these girls. But it was busy sponsoring talks, you know, to disrupt peaceful and legal rallies. People were holding to express their own concern. So the rallies are in order. That is what the citizens are supposed to do. The alternative is to become lawless, I mean, go ahead, which the citizens have not done. They have just restricted themselves to legal, or what would I say, decent marches, you know, to demand that the government should take action. And I bet you without all these actions, one is that without these rallies, government by now would have been arguing with people whether anybody was kidnapped or not. Politicize it, make it seem it's just our opponents that want to get at us. You know, without these rallies, the international community would not have woken to the fact that serious security breaches are taking place in Nigeria and the government is inactive. So the actions, whatever we have gotten now, had to be traced to these rallies. So, and the citizens, I believe, have done pretty well in that regard. The consciousness is there, and many other factors that have come in has helped to create the consciousness. And the problem is that the politics of poverty that have been consistently played over time is weakening the resolve of the masses to fight against cases of injustice and cases of breach of their own capacity and freedom. That is the problem we have in Nigeria. You find out a situation where the government believes in, you know, stealing all the money and distributing to cronies or buying up cronies, buying people. There are some people that, so to say, we are in the struggle. Today they are now working either openly or secretly for the government to perpetrate some of these issues we are concerned about. That is just the problem, Nigeria, and that's why the civil society is no more active. It is because they have been so weakened. People have been weakened by the endemic poverty that have been entrenched in the system. And that made it very impossible to mobilize people. Now the students' body that used to be the soul of the struggle. I remember, let me share one thing. The March 1998 5 million march against Abacha in Yaba, you know. We went to the campuses directly to mobilize students. And you know what really happened? They were like, how can this, what are you talking about? This and this and that, this and that. That was what really energized the struggle in Nigeria and led to the push out of Abacha. Because that was when it now became possible that the Abacha dictatorship could be challenged. Because there were still some level of consciousness among the students then. You know, they were easy to join. But today, what is left of the students? It is totally dead. The studentry have lost consciousness. If the studentry have lost, let me give you an instance. Some few days ago, June 1st, NEPA increased tariff. For about 2 or 3 days now, I have not seen NEPA, you know, within my residential district. That's NEPA Light, you know, or BSC, or whatever they call it. But they increased tariff. Gradually, the money you used to buy a certain level of units. The level of units you can buy with a given money continues dropping, and you are not seeing the light. Whether you use up your unit or not, at the end of each month you are charged a certain amount they call fixed charge and VAT and all those whatever. You know, this directly affects the people and their level. You see, we are still in an era of syndicated fuel price manipulation. And nobody is talking. The students are not talking. The civil society are not talking. It is like we are now ingraining those things as part of our lives. And gradually they are leading to the death of the society. I know the society. Because the poverty is so endemic, people die off. Have you ever taken time to know, to even ascertain the number of people that die every day, either because of malnutrition, lack of drug, lack of capacity to afford those things. And the society keeps on dwindling because the consciousness is no more there. The studentry is not there. Labor is not there. And you cannot raise Nigerians again to fight most of the iniquities that people we are not tolerating under the military. They are now perpetrating them, increment here, increment there. Everybody continues struggling and paying. If you cannot pay, you die in silence. That is the soul of the society. It is going. When the society cannot cater for the weakest members of that society, it is gone. And that is what's happening today because the studentry, the social consciousness, yes, people are aware that they are not happy. But the problem is that they are difficult to mobilize. Because once it starts, the government moves in with little money, demobilizes everyone, it now continues like that. Most of the things that are happening, are you looking at the extortions in terms of vehicle registration, new numbers, another number, and all those things? It keeps on going. They are all forms of manipulation. The direct body force of the common man. But he has no capacity now to fight the people that have been molesting him, and that is because the critical segments of the society have been demobilized. The student movement in any society within history have been at the apex of the fight against any form of whether civilian or military dictatorship. But in Nigeria today, we don't have any student movement again, except people that now what you hear of now are people that are recruited as thugs to politicians. Student union are just like thugs, political thugs to politicians, and it is so bad. That is. I think the opposition parties, the people will just tell you Nigerian politicians are politicians. Yes, they are right. You know, politicians are politicians, but they are in the position of this. But then, you cannot know a person unless you test that person. If a political class of a certain pedigree have been tested over time and they have proved to be a failure, the beauty of democracy is that they will be jailed for the other people to try. And if they now prove to be a failure, you now revert back and you keep on going. That's the beauty of the American system we copy. Every 4 years you assess. If you do not perform well, you are thrown out. If you perform averagely or little above average, you are allowed to continue. At the end of the day, if a party is not doing well, it is thrown out of power and another party comes in and tries its best. So we may not know even the capacity of the opposition until we have tested them and tried them. And we cannot continue trying the same field that keeps on failing with resounding tone at each point in time. For 16 years, we have been trying one political party and that keeps getting from bad to worse. So I feel that even if the opposition in some people's estimation may not be different, let us try them because they are the opposition. They are now under another platform. Let us try them. If they still fail, we will now go back to where we are coming. I'm giving you a scenario. But the opposition in Nigeria as it is today, I feel is much more organized with the coming in of the parties, the opposition parties coming together has created a much more formidable front to fight the battle for the soul of Nigeria. The APC now is now a sort of agglomeration of the opposition parties. That is good for our polity. And with PDP, there are some other parties that say they are in the opposition, but they are all allies and fronts of PDP, like Labour Party, ABGA, these and that. They are all just offshoots or satellites, cronies of PDP. But then the opposition is now stronger to lay claim to power. What I want the opposition to do is to ensure that the process of election, because that's very critical, is free and fair, so that we know their real strength. We have not known the real strength of Nigerian politicians since the advent of this democracy because the elections have all been rigged. If a credible process is in place, the opposition can now access power. And we know and measure their own strength. I think, as it is today, the opposition have been helped tremendously by the ineptitude of the current government, Jonathan government, and the PDP government over 16 years. And they have a very bright and very strong prospects of getting into government. The government got it wrong in the first instance. One was that they thinking that it was a plot to overthrow my government and maybe getting all the political of that. Boko Haram was formed before the advent of Jonathan. In fact, their leader was killed by the Yaradua government, and that was what caused the Boko Haram. Yaradua is another, and let us even look at it from another side. But then the government was the Jonathan government was much more interested in cashing the political benefits. It did nothing. It wasn't doing anything. What it was just waiting was for every attack, it will issue a statement that they are on top of it and that is the opponents, and that is it. And many people are asking, when you know who are this, why not keep them? And nobody gets arrested, nobody gets picked up. Boko Haram now got emboldened, took over the whole landscape because there was no challenge. The government was so carefree with handling the Boko Haram issue. But I noted one thing at the formation stage. I did say, let the government negotiate with Boko Haram. Some people are mad. What is Boko Haram? Who is Boko Haram? This and this. I said, well, my own point is like this. If you negotiate with them, at least you start line of communication. You know who you are talking to. One way or the other, if you are efficient, you study them and know them. At the end of the day, middle way, negotiation can better, but you have taken something away. That is knowledge of who you are dealing with. And they thinking of the government, we are not negotiating with anybody. Who are they? We are going to crush them within 2 minutes. And we now saw Boko Haram growing from strength to strength. Let us not forget some critical issues. General Andrew Azazi, a former national security advisor to Jonathan, he's from Bayelsa State, the one that died in the aircraft, made a statement that Boko Haram or insecurity in general is fueled by the internal crisis in PDP. Few days later, he was removed. Check out, go to your record. All the people that have been arrested for the Boko Haram from Dume, Senator Alain Dume, up to, I don't know, have been PDP. And in fact, Senator Alain Dume made a statement. He swore to an affidavit that the vice president is aware of his dealings with Boko Haram. So, when you look at it very well, you now see a sort of linkage, a sort of interface between those that pretend to fight Boko Haram and the Boko Haram itself. But let's leave about this history. Let us even take them that they just fell from the sky with a mission to kill anybody that subscribes to Western education. The first thing is, let us know who these people are. And you cannot know them. Because why I said what I said, that they say these are suicide bombers. The first case we have in Nigeria. If you have somebody that is ready to ring bombs around himself and die, it's a very dangerous scenario. As much as possible, find a way of dealing with it. And small people, we will do like this people. And gradually, the thing now, the government was like, any attack, it's our opponents. They will go back to sleep. And it continued. Now, it has reached a very intractable point. I feel what the government should do, as I have said, is that they are lucky that the Western countries have come in. The Western countries have some capacity. It's not going to be a tea party because the thing has really spread. But I think it has to be, the curtailment will start with intelligence. You know, one of the weaknesses of our security system is that we don't have any intelligence network. But the Western countries are going to bring intelligence so that we get to the root of some of these militants, you know, their bases, how they operate, who operates, and all those systems. That is the thing. And then, gradually, it's either we crush them or we negotiate with them. I think the best option is to crush them. The best option is to give them the opportunity to come back. You can rehabilitate them, you can do anything. If they now grow recalcitrant, you crush them. We must develop that capacity to stand toe to toe with them because it's a very dangerous phenomenon. But it has been mishandled. That is why Boko Haram has grown to the extent it is today. It has been mishandled. First and foremost, what is uppermost at my mind is release these school girls. Then curtail these incessant killings. Yesterday, some media were reporting about 200 people. Some were 100, or a little below 100 killed. So the killings are continuing. I mean, something has to be done. The Nigerian armed forces, I regret to say, it has been very inept.